What's up, y'all? This is AJ.
This is Bryce.
And we are No Filter Brothers. And today's topic, we have Dave Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle is on the hot seat.
Yeah. Hot seat, hot ass, hot mouth, hot mic, everything.
Everything. But I have to say, before we even go into it, that I am a Dave Chappelle supporter.
Since when?
Since forever.
Since Saturday Night Live?
He was never on Saturday Night Live.
What was he on?
He was on the Dave Chappelle show.
Really?
Yes.
That's when he did the crackhead?
Yes. So you got the wrong person. You're thinking of Chris Rock and Eddie Murphy.
The other black comedian.
Right.
Yes.
Now, he was on Saturday Night Live last year as a host. And he brought them all on it.
Brought who on?
All the black comedians.
Would you say he's pro-black?
He's definitely pro-black.
Okay.
But he also, I think his wife is Asian.
Yeah.
So I think he's just for the people in general.
Which people?
Humans.
Well, why do LGBTQ people think that he's not
wait
for
a minute. You're part of that community and you can't even say it right. Let's get the alphabet together.
ABC.
You might as well say the whole thing because right now they keep adding letters every week. It's hard for us who are in the community to keep track of all the letters they keep adding.
LGBTQ. And
plus.
Then it's some more.
It says plus now.
Yeah. So
what's the plus? That's like watching Disney Plus.
Well,
BET Plus.
If you got another fetish or you got another thing that you identify with, you could be something else.
So that's the plus.
Let me see if I can come up with a name for me.
Okay. You think about that.
A letter.
Now let's get back to our real topic.
Okay, so Dave Chappelle, he has another stand-up kind of monologue.
Well, yeah, he has his final show, which I believe is called The Closer.
The Closer, yeah, it is. And it's on Netflix.
Which is causing an uproar in the community.
Yeah, but okay, so let's get started. Dave Chappelle is a African-American comedian who they thought he had some type of psychosis.
And he didn't.
And so
well, they said that because he walked away with $50 million on the table.
Yeah, so he had a contract and he started the contract, but then he just walked away because he just felt stressed. He felt he wasn't trusting people.
He wasn't trusting
and
people.
Some people, if they try to put a label on it, it could seem like a psychosis.
Right, because
if you're not
how many people walk away from $50 million?
Right, it had to be something serious to him to be walking away. But this is what he said, because I saw one of his clips and he was like, yeah, I was debating whether or not to, and when you can't really look at yourself in the mirror because of what the industry is doing to you. So that was his biggest stressor. It was what the industry was doing, what they were asking him to do or to promote. I think that was the biggest thing that made.
I think he was losing his own identity.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And it wasn't worth $50 million.
I don't know.
I have to applaud someone who can walk away.
I'll be a lot of things for $50 million.
Would you?
I would.
Okay, we're going to talk about that into this one.
Right. Yeah, I do a lot of stuff for $50 million, but he wouldn't. No. And so when
you have to applaud someone.
When you look at his net worth, it's way more than that. So
because he has that Netflix check.
Yeah. So anyway, he has this new The Closer is out, and let me give you my version. This is me talking. I think it is an apology to the LGBTQ community.
You feel like it's an apology?
Yeah, it's an apology.
I don't feel like it's an apology, nor do I feel like he needed to apologize. I believe it was a clarification of what he stands for, more so than an apology. Looking at him from previous shows that he has done, me being in the community, we have to learn how to laugh at certain things. And I think he really was shining a light on that some of the stuff can be just a joke. Although some people may be offended, there's a lot of things that offend you. I think what he was really trying to show from my perspective is that how the community itself has risen above other communities and putting their own, like people want to say, the gay agenda. There's a lot of power in the gay community. And so I think that's what he was really saying is the black people if they got together, like the gay community, which he said a lot of that throughout the last episode that he just had to close it, it really shined a light on different things, how if the black community, even if you just took the black gay community and took their power, it would be
I'm calling it an apology. You're calling it a what?
Clarification.
And so he spends time. The whole closer is not about the LGBT community.
No, it's not.
He mixes in jokes from
everything
and everybody. And he calls everybody a nigger. He calls every...
Whoa. Make sure you say it right. He didn't put the ER on there. I know that's your Boston accent.
His language...
Nigger.
He calls everybody that. He calls everybody bitches.
Yes.
And so if that's not your type of comedy, then you might not need to patronize or listen to him.
Now, the crazy thing about it is when he's been doing these pop-ups and they're always sold out. Yeah. Now, we're fortunate enough to be in Ohio, but not fortunate enough to get one of those tickets that he had on his compound, which is about 45 minutes away from us. But we have not been able to get one because it sells out like in 7 minutes.
He lives in Ohio. And so it's funny because part of his monologue is about where he lives. And people are asking him, why do you live in Yellowstone?
Right, which is about an hour and 15 minutes away from us, which is we're at the south part of Ohio, Cincinnati.
And it is kind of interesting that he lives there.
Yes.
But anyway, he talks about living there and... but that's not the topic of it.
And talk about the white chicks have to get on stage with their dirty feet.
That's what he likes.
Yes.
Yeah, that was funny.
The white bitches.
White bitches.
Yes.
So he called everybody bitches.
Yeah, white bitches with dirty feet.
But anyway, in his monologue, he starts the monologue by saying, this is going to be my last show for a while. And he didn't clarify it then why it would be his last show until the last line of the show.
Right.
And so we won't get to that yet because we're going to save that for the end. But
he's a master at his craft.
He is. That's what I'm saying. He's smart.
He's very
smart.
So
you got to give it to him. He's smart. He's funny.
Funny as hell.
He's rude. And if that's not what you like, then don't buy a ticket. Just like he said. He said that in the monologue.
Right.
He was like, have you ever seen my show? Have you ever bought a ticket? You just get bits and pieces of it. Yeah.
From other people.
It's going to be offensive.
Yes.
It's going to be offensive.
Yeah, if you take it out of context.
Yeah.
It's very offensive.
But he's an equal opportunist.
To offend.
He offends everybody.
Yes.
Blacks, white, Jewish, men, women, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He offends everybody.
I don't think he really talked about kids that much.
No, I haven't heard it in the ones that I listen to. But the issue here with the LGBTQ community...
you're going to get it right before the end of the day.
Exactly. is that they took some offense to the things he was saying.
The trans community took offense to it.
Okay, so that's one of the letters in that whole alphabet.
Yes. Now you're offending people by not knowing the whole alphabet.
Like Dave Chappelle, fuck you.
Oh.
Anyway, we're here talking about why they're offended. Why do you think they're offended?
I think a lot of people... Now, first of all, when I first saw the first feed on Facebook about it, I had not watched it. So I actually saw it around 8 o'clock on, I believe, Tuesday night when it first came out. So I actually stayed up late and watched it. Because I'm like, what are they talking about? How are they already offended if it just came out? But people are like waiting, I guess, that morning to watch it. And they were talking about how he has said things that he shouldn't say about the trans community. So I watched it and I'm like, me personally didn't say anything to be offended, but I'm not a trans person, so I can't really put those high heels on because I don't wear them.
So we need someone from the trans community to inbox us, and we would love to just get your perspective.
From both sides, those who are pro and those who are against.
Right. Just let us know if you have an opinion about Dave Chappelle and what he said about the trans community. I think that'd be interesting.
It would be interesting.
And you just know you'll be speaking for a large majority of people. So talk to your friends, your other trans friends, and get their idea, get their perspective.
And let's just clarify, we are constantly trying to get someone from the trans community on our podcast. Mm-hmm. And we've only had one, that was male to female. Yeah. And we're trying to find a female to male.
Okay.
And someone who really want to be open about it. I have to say, when we had our last guests on, I personally didn't feel like they were being totally open.
Yeah.
There were certain things that we discussed before that we could not talk about on the podcast, which
Right.
I think kind of, is a whole another avenue that's out there that we would like to explore, because most people want to know, this whole thing. When you look at it, if you look at how you have some men who transfer to women, and then they keep the bottom part. So do they consider themselves?
You're getting into a show that's coming up later in the season.
Well, but that's do they consider themselves trans gay or trans hetero?
That is not the conversation today. The
Okay.
conversation today is Dave Chappelle.
Well, that's what he talked about it.
He doesn't get that detail.
Well,
but he does say jokes about the trans community. But he says jokes about everybody. So trans community, I would just say, listen to his jokes. See where they're coming from. I don't think they're really coming out of hatred or anything like that. Like, I could listen to number 45, some of his speeches, and be just furious with some of the things he say. Or some of these current Republicans that just be talking out the side of their neck and can't believe what they're saying.
Exactly.
And they are politicians, are government officials.
Representatives.
Chappelle is a comedian
Yes.
whose work is to make you laugh or make you think, not like these Republicans saying what they're saying.
Right.
So
We have a
anyway.
whole group of people who are following. Now, since you touched on that, just this past weekend, we had on the news, they had a female who was at one of the rallies that 45 just did, and pretty much put it out there that we're ready for another civil war. And it's kind of shocking that they're even acknowledging that. So
Nothing shocks me these days,
So-
especially from that clientele. But anyway, so Dave Chappelle, he says jokes about trans. He talked about in his monologue, he had a friend who was trans who wanted to break into the kind of the entertainment side of the business.
wanted to be a stand-up.
Yeah, exactly. And so he actually gave that trans person a shot
Yes.
at their dream.
And they bombed.
So if you're gonna hate somebody, you wouldn't want to probably work with them,
Or give them an opportunity.
right? And so people just think about that.
Now, think about that from a perspective of you have Dave Chappelle, who some consider now currently the GOAT, and he taps you to say, I want you to open for me.
Right.
You're guaranteed an audience already because you're opening for Dave Chappelle.
Right.
So, which is going to be a broadcast because they were filming it that night, but that part didn't get filmed. But someone who never done stand-up and getting that opportunity,
Right.
that some people who have been around don't even have that opportunity to open up for him.
And you're a trans
Person, right.
Trans person, yeah. And so I think that was a great opportunity of him showing an olive branch. Could it be for his benefit? Could have. But he did it.
He did it.
And not only did he give that person a chance, but he also mentored that person.
Yes.
Which means he has to have a consistent relationship with
Communication.
that person and communication. So if you didn't like a portion of people, you wouldn't associate with them, because I don't associate with, Trumpites. I just don't do it. So people just think before you pass judgment. Look at his shows, look at all of them, and you'll see that he's an equal opportunity comedian. He lets everybody have it.
Keyword is comedian.
Yeah, he's a
So
comedian.
he's supposed to bring laughter
Exactly.
to you. Now, some things you may not find funny, but that's
But wait
okay.
a minute, some of the things the LGBTQ community do is funny.
Oh, wait a minute. Give you some
of it
points. You
is
got it
really
right that
funny.
time.
So we can all make jokes of ourselves.
We should be able to make jokes.
And why can't he make jokes?
Well, that's true. I mean, if you look at...
Trans people, why? Why is that an issue?
Because he
Why is
has
that a
done
problem?
some very questionable, when he did the Dave Chappelle show, when he had the crackhead, when he had the slave episodes. He made some people very uncomfortable because he was throwing stuff out there in a humorous way that actually had some truth to it. So
Most of it has truth. And
Yes.
even when he says his jokes, he delivers his lines, some of that stuff is true. And most jokes have some truth in it.
yes.
And so you really
It's
have
just a
to look
softer
and
way to
see,
get it.
or a funnier way to look at it. So I would say, watch his show Go see one of his performances, and then make your own judgment from that point.
It's quite interesting if you look at just comedians themselves. If you go back and you look at, for example, would be Monique when she was at the height when they did the Queens of Comedy, and she always opened up talking about skinny ass bitches,
right?
Like I hate you type stuff because she's a big woman, so she represented the big women.
Right.
The skinny bitches didn't really get offended by it because they would call them skinny bitches, but they knew exactly what she was doing.
Right.
She was putting forth a positive image for bigger women.
Did you see anybody boycotting her shows or
I didn't see any skinny people boycotting her for saying skinny bitches, we hate you. I didn't see anybody boycotting her for that. Now, it's other things that she may have had issues with. But if you look at it from that standpoint, that's a segment of an audience that she was actually making fun of, and they knew to be part of the joke.
Well, if you had to look at all comedians, black, white, male, female, we would be boycotting all of them.
Exactly.
Because even your country comedians,
right?
They talk shit about being country
and rednecks,
and stuff like that. So, you can't pick and choose. It has to be fair across the board.
I think people have gotten a little soft when it comes to comedians, because they have to watch what they say because they may get canceled. Because we're in a serious cancel culture now.
Yeah.
So I think that's where a lot of it is coming from. Is you can't say this, you can't say that. And it's like, well, you need to pull back on that because it's taking away some people's creativity and freedom of speech.
So is this the same as The Baby or not? Because Dave Chappelle's a comedian. The Baby was trying to speak what he really believes.
Well, I think when you look at it from a standpoint of that was a more someone not being educated. Ignorant. Because some of the stuff he said was just from not having any educational background on that subject. Okay. So I think that viewpoint. And then people have to question, why are you worried about what people are doing in their car in the parking lot? Why are you all in someone's car?
Maybe you want to do it.
Well, that's what a lot of people are saying. Like maybe he had someone and they ran away from him. So, maybe the baby has a baby dick.
But wait a minute. So, anybody seen it? Send us a picture. Anyway, so Dave Chappelle in his monologue talks about being molested.
Yes, he did touch on that. Yeah,
and I don't know if this is true or not. But
he said that a male and female.
Yeah. Well, the male one is what I'm talking about. The priest. And he talked about nutting in the priest's face. Yeah. He was like, oh, I like that.
I like that.
So, does he like being gay or bi or whatever? Like, could we include him in all these alphabets and letters?
If he enjoyed it and he kept going to do it, even though he was underage and the person's older, that's a whole nother segment.
Right.
So,
it's questions out there. You got to know the person, and I'm sure you people who are protesting him, you've Googled him, you've listened to sound bites and stuff like that. Talk to him. He said he's not going to do another monologue until it's clear that he is not offending people or not meaning to offend people.
Right. He want to wait till people get it.
His jokes are his jokes. So I hope Netflix paid him a lot of money for this.
Well, I think this was the last of that contract anyway.
Oh, okay.
So now whether or not they sign another contract, I don't know. I'm not privy to that information.
But bravo to Netflix for doing it anyway.
Exactly, because they wanted to do another protest against Netflix.
So, he went on hiatus for 12 years, and when he came back, and when he hit the stage, he was still on top.
He never left. Like he never left.
And, it would be a different conversation to talk about why he left and what happened, and we don't know his personal life. That's his personal life.
Right.
If you can tap out of this world for 12 years and then come back and still be on top of your game, I don't know anybody that could do that.
Not too many people.
So bravo to him. Mm-hmm. Bravo to his career.
Now, like I said, I'm a supporter of him, but I have to say, towards the end of the show, it got deep when he started talking about his friend who was trans.
Yeah.
And because he didn't know for sure or not if they committed suicide, but he didn't know if it was because the trans community was dragging them through the gutter. Right. Because they were supporting him. So he said he's not sure if that's why or there were some other issues going on.
But that's the part that pissed me off. Somebody don't say what you like, whether you're in their community or not. people can be really
Mean.
So you have a trans person, and they're kind of helping putting your agenda out there. They're on a national forum doing stand-up comedy, and you drag them for what? Because they didn't say something that appeases you. I mean, remember, it's all comedy. You have to be able to make a joke at some of this stuff.
Well, not just comedy. We're in America where we have freedom of speech.
Facts.
Freedom of opinion. And I think sometimes people don't necessarily like your opinion, but they're entitled to their opinion.
Right.
Now, there's certain things you can't do as far as the freedom of speech. You can't run in there and say it's a fire when it's not a fire.
Right.
You can't do those type of things that's going to cause some kind of bodily injury. But for them to go through that and trash someone who's in the community because they're supporting someone, they need to really think about what they're doing. Because now, we grew up when they said words didn't hurt.
Right.
Words hurt now.
Right. Well, obviously, in this case, it hurted, and the person committed suicide.
Right.
So that is a tragedy.
It was a tragedy.
And he talks about that, how that affected him.
Yeah, messed him up a little bit.
And how he's now looking at the trans community as, okay, this is one of yours, and you chewed him up and spit him out. So, I mean, where are your ethics? Where are your standards? How dare you judge someone else? And then when you're judged, you got to issue it.
Right. Well, the black community is very good at doing that.
Yeah.
Chewing each other up.
Yeah.
So, the ancestors call it the crab syndrome. We're going to
Yeah.
pull each other down
But
instead of building up.
he talks about that too.
Yes, he does.
He talks about everybody. So, trans world, just relax. It's not all about you.
Right.
But he did go on in that and talked about the loss of his friend and what that did to him. And he also talked more socially about the black and white dynamics of the LGBT community. People, if you've never heard before, it is not the same.
It's not.
It's not the same being black than it is being white and being LGBTQ. So
Right.
whether you think it is or not, it is not the same. So not only have, people been fighting for, justice for the LGBT community, well, we've been fighting for justice for African Americans for over 200 years.
Yes, people of color.
So your fight is no more important than ours. And that's what he was really saying, is that, you have a fight of 40, 50 years, but you minimize the fight of 200 plus years that the African Americans go through in the LGBT community.
Right.
So don't be just, so judgmental. Look at yourself. When you point your finger, that thumb is always pointing at you.
Oh, say that one more time.
When you point your finger, point it.
Uh-huh.
The thumb is always pointing back at you.
True.
Look at yourself before you start going after anybody else.
Right.
I thought his comedy was witty. Of course, it was raw, and it was kind of in your face, and that's what comedy is. To me, it's a form of art.
It's definitely a form of
You don't
art.
like that artist? Don't
go.
see him. Don't patronize him.
That's what a
But
lot
should
of
they
different things.
not be able to speak?
I think that's part of it. If they're an entertainer, if you don't like the entertainer, then you don't support them with your bucks.
Right.
You don't go. You don't do
There's
that.
entertainers
But
that I don't like, that I don't support.
Right.
There's, the Proud Boys. I don't go to their website and look and see what they're saying.
No.
Because I probably won't like it. So I don't go there.
Right.
I don't send them money. I don't send them donations. So we all have the freedom and the right to our speech, and we have the right to indulge in the things that we want to indulge in. And I don't think you should be trying to take somebody's livelihood out of the way if they're not physically hurting you.
And I think that was the whole gist. I think he started it out and ended on the same note, saying, this is what I'm going to do. This is the last time I talk about it. And he pretty much dropped the mic and closed it up.
Right. So it's going to be interesting to see where it goes from here. He also talked about his trans friend's daughter and how he is going to, when she turns 21, give her a monetary donation because her mother was a friend of his.
Right. And he closed it with a joke.
Oh, that joke was funny.
That joke was absolutely hilarious. How he pretty much just said he wants to walk up to her, and I believe it may have been a son. I'm not sure if it was a male or a female child. I don't know. But he want to walk up to him and say that your dad was a good dad. Yeah, I met your dad, and she was a wonderful woman.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that was perfect.
Right.
So
it was. And so if you have a problem with that joke, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for you, but we got more important things that we should fight.
And again, we're looking for someone from the trans community to contact us. So we want to get your opinion on this. So reach out to us.
So this is AJ.
And this is Bryce.
And we are
Filter, No Filter Brothers.